We're really excited to have Rabbi Buxbaum back with us again. He is the director of the LAVE Experience, a Greater Washington, D.C. Jewish Engagement Program, the author of the book, The 4 Elements of an Empowered Life, and he is also host of the Empowered Jewish Living podcast. So thank you so much for being with us, Rabbi Buxbaum.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. I'm loving how we've all been on Zoom for like 2 years now, and there's still bloopers, right? We're still like trying to figure it out. Like I was on mute for the first 5 minutes. Danielle couldn't hear me. It's fun to see like Mika Amcha Yisrael. We still haven't fully figured it out, but we will get there. We'll get there. So it's amazing. Erev Chanukah, pretty much. It's like one of these Thanksgiving Chanukah years. What do they call them? Thanksgivicas or something like that. So we have one of those this year. So, Chanukah comes early. That means we have to work a little extra hard to get in the Chanukah zone. So I want to share with you, this is just a really cute little thing. It's going to sound like I'm making this up, but I had a little mini Chanukah miracle right before I came on. Because I went to print out my notes. I have my notes over here. And I was excited to print it out. And then it came out of the printer, and it was one of, when like your printer's starting to run out of ink and it's just like all smudged up and it's, half white and half black. So it comes out and I'm like, how am I going to give this talk? I don't have any notes. I got all nervous. And then searched the house far and wide, and believe it or not, true story. Opened up my desk drawer, mamish like a Chanukah miracle. I had another ink once that I had bought it. I never installed it in the printer, and it was right here for me to have notes. So that was my Chanukah miracle. Thank you for those who are cheering. Baruch Hashem. When they sent me, is everyone muted, by the way? Mute, so otherwise it's going to sound funny. When they sent me the title of tonight's discussion, the title of tonight's program was The Anatomy of a Miracle. And I was actually really excited about that title because actually the first time I ever did any sort of public speech, like a public Torah speech, I was in Yeshiva's Torah's Moshe many years ago. And on Chanukah, I was asked to give the Dvar Torah. There was always one student of the yeshiva who was asked to give a Dvar Torah. And I titled that talk, the very first talk I'd ever given, I titled it The Anatomy of a Miracle. So I was really excited to see the title and maybe share, repackage some of the old Divrei Torah. So we'll do that tonight. But we are speaking, the theme of tonight is miracles and how to see miracles in our life. Chanukah is all about Pirsume Nisa. It's all about being mefarsim, spreading the concept, the idea of miracles, and learning how to see miracles, learning how to identify miracles. We know that Chanukah's 8 nights and the beauty of the number 8. We know in Kabbalah, 8 is the metaphysical, l'mala min hateva, transcends the natural order of things, which always connects to the number 7 and then comes along 8, and it blows up everything. It blows up nature, and it reminds us that even though we can sometimes get trapped in the facade of a very natural world, of a world of Teva, to remember that as Klal Yisrael, as the Jewish people, we are plugged into the metaphysical. Say mina kochavim, go above the stars. That's what Hashem first told Avram Avinu when he told him that there's going to be a Jewish people, to go above the stars. So Chanukah is a reminder that we're so much bigger than Teva, how to break out of nature. And that's going to be the theme of the studying that you'll be doing tonight with your partners. We're going to offer you a bunch of questions and then a concept, a theme in which we'll answer those many questions. So in just a moment, you're going to spread it into your rooms and you're going to see, you'll take a look at all these questions and see how many of them you can answer on your own. But I want to actually throw out one more question for you to think about, a question that's not in your packet that I want you to think about. There is a connection, an unusual connection amongst all of the mystery of Chanukah. There is an interesting connection between Chanukah and the moon. The moon. Raise your hand if you have ever noticed the connection between Chanukah and the moon. I'm scrolling through all the different screens here just to see who's raising their hand. A connection between Chanukah and the moon. I'm seeing no, a lot of no's. Anyone? No. Okay. There is a connect. Interesting. Okay. No one realizes a connection between Chanukah and the moon. Let me show this to you. Okay. I see Jacqueline. All right. Jacqueline knows it. There's an unusual connection between Chanukah and the moon for a couple of reasons. Number one, Chanukah is unusual. Most Jewish holidays come in the middle of the month. What's that? Who said? Rachel? Yes?
Middle of the month.
Middle of the month, right? Sukkot comes the middle of the month. Pesach is the middle of the month. Even Purim, a Yom Tov D'Rabbanan comes in the middle of the month. Why? Because as Jews, we do look at the mazel of every single month. And we know that the mazel of the month, the theme of the month is the strongest. The shefa, the energy of the month is always strongest in the middle of the month when the moon is full. Chanukah is an unusual Yom Tov because it's at the end of the month, literally at the time of the month when things are the darkest. And actually, Chanukah, we know, it begins in Kislev and it ends in Teves. So Chanukah is actually the only Yom Tov that is celebrated when the moon is almost not there. Number one. Number two, a second connection between Chanukah and the moon. We know, in the story of Chanukah, we know that Chazal point out that the Yevanim, the Greeks, had a bone to pick with, well, they didn't like Judaism in general, but there were three mitzvot specifically that they particularly took issue with. Shmiras Shabbos, observing Shabbat. Bris Milah, circumcision. Okay, now we understand those two, but obviously, if you're going to try to pull the plug on the Jewish people, you're going to go for Shabbat, right? What's the famous line? More than the Jews have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews, right? We know that Shabbat is the hallmark of a Jewish life. All right, if I was a Greek, I think I'd go after Shabbat. Bris Milah, okay, the Greeks, right, they were very into their bodies. They liked working out in the gym, checking out the perfection of the body. Yo, check out my Greek biceps. So Milah, which they viewed, circumcision, they viewed as a mutilation of the body. Okay, I hear that the Greeks would go after that. But the third one, the third mitzvah that they went after was Kiddush HaChodesh. Exactly. Rivka Tyler, right? Rosh Chodesh. They went after Rosh Chodesh. Specifically, Kiddush HaChodesh, the sanctification of the new moon, which also happened at the end of the month. Okay, so Chanukah, the only Yom Tov at the end of the month. For some reason or another, the Greeks have a problem with Rosh Chodesh, sanctifying of the new moon. And one other unusual connection. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, is able to comprehend, he's the greatest prophet to ever walk the planet, and he's able to comprehend everything. Our sages identify three areas of law, of mitzvah that Hashem was giving Moshe, that he wasn't able to comprehend, that he needed a demonstration. Number one, we're not going to speak about that much tonight, Machzis HaShekel. Moshe, for whatever reason, could not figure out the appearance of the half shekel. We won't talk about that much tonight. But what are the other two? Number one, it says Hashem had to show Moshe an image of the moon when you would sanctify the new moon. Moshe couldn't comprehend it. Hashem had to show, there had to be a visual demonstration. And the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, the menorah. Of all the, right, Moshe he was able to get the kruvim, he was able to get the shulchan, all the different vessels in the tabernacle. Moshe had no problem understanding. But for some reason, the menorah, he was confused. Hashem had to show him a visual. Is it a coincidence? The menorah and the moon are two things Moshe couldn't comprehend. Chanukah is at the end of the month when the moon is not there. The Greeks had a bone to pick with Rosh Chodesh. Moshe can't fathom both the menorah and the moon. And just for fun, for entertainment purposes only, I would like to suggest something else. You ever take a close look at the dreidel? I'm sure you did, because you play dreidel every year. How does a dreidel look? You spin it, and it goes like this, spinning. I hope that my camera's clear. You see it spinning, but it also does a little like siviva, a little hakafa, goes around. Very similar, this is just my observation, very similar to how the moon, right, it's on this double rotation. It's always turning, but it's also rotating. So maybe we even have a fourth connection between Chanukah and the moon. So as you go with your partners and as you take a look at all the questions and you explore the concept of a miracle, I want to throw one more question at you, and we'll talk about this on the other side when we see you there. What is the connection between Chanukah and the moon? As you learn about miracles, maybe you could have this in mind as well. I'll see you in about 25 to 30 minutes on the other side, and we'll go a little bit deeper into this whole idea. So enjoy your learning. We'll see you soon.
Question. Does the
Great.
moon,
Thanks so much, Rabbi Buxbaum.
I don't think the moon rotate on its axis, because you see all the time the dark side of the moon that you never see, because if the moon was rotating, we will see all around the moon. But if it's not rotating, we see only one side. The reason why it's not rotating, one side is heavier than the other, so it tracks to the Earth. So moon go around the Earth, but don't rotate around its axis.
Got it. You know what? I would have to see I would have to refresh my moonology to be able to really understand what you just said. So I'll think about it. But either way, on the other side, we'll circle back together. All right?
All right.
Enjoy your learning.
Okay, everyone, we're going to send you to your breakout rooms. Also, if you don't have the...
As I was saying, it gives me great pleasure to share with you the anatomy of a miracle, the very first Dvar Torah that I can recall ever saying in a public setting, having to do with the concept of the anatomy of a miracle. This was over 20 years ago. I still remember it, and I think in many ways this idea, this concept, really has always it's always carried me in many ways. I'll share it with you, and then we'll speak a little bit about what you just studied, and we'll speak about Chanukah a little bit. Is it possible in our lives, in my life, in your life, as we go through life, do we create our own miracles? Do we cause miracles to happen? Do we just sort of, sit back and wait for Hashem to do miracles in our life? Or do we play an active part in miracles happening? So I want to share with you a couple of lines from a Gemara, piece of Talmud, in Tractate Brachot. This is a question that Rav Papa asked Abaye. Many of you who might study the Daf Yomi, maybe you're familiar with this, or if you've studied Tractate Brachot. Rav Papa asked Abaye, he said, Maishna Rishonim de Israchesh lehu nisa. Why is it that the early, whoever he was referring to, I don't know if he was referring to biblical times or people that were earlier than him, but he said, why is it that the early people, they saw miracles in their life? Umaishna anandalo. And why is it that us, or Papa is asking about, how come we don't experience miracles in our life? I'm curious if you do you feel that you've experienced miracles in your life? I hope that maybe at some point everyone here on this call could say, I've experienced a miracle, maybe a more concealed, more revealed miracle. But this was the question that Rav Papa asked Abaye. How come we don't see open miracles? And Abaye answered Rav Papa. He said, Amarle, he said to him, Kamei, the early people, our ancestors, have a kamasri nafshayu akedushas Hashem. They would sacrifice their souls. They would give over their souls. They would step out of their comfort zone for the sake of sanctifying the name of God. Anan, but us, Lo masrina nafshin, we do not give over. We don't sacrifice our souls. We don't give ourselves over, hakedushas Hashem, to sanctify God's name, so we don't see miracles. Now, when we learn this piece of Talmud, one could say it's a beautiful idea, right? We do something big, so God does a miracle for us. But I think that there's actually something much deeper and very practical, very real for us. We know God runs the world mida keneged mida. What is mida keneged mida? That God is always interacting with us. Our traits are always reflected in the way God treats us. So therefore, the way that we project ourselves onto the world, that is the way that we'll experience God. Everybody knows in Shemona Esrei, we say God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Why? Because each one of the patriarchs experienced God in his own way because he was different. Abraham, who had the traits of Abraham, experienced the God of Abraham. Yitzhak, not because they were different gods, but because everyone experienced God in a way that was relevant to his own traits. What does it mean to be Moser Nefesh? What does it mean to give over one's soul? So we like to live in our comfort zone. We're creatures of habit. We like to know that we're safe. We like to know that we're secure. We like to be in environments that are comfortable for us. And we sort of get into this trajectory in life where we're just kind of rolling. We're rolling, our days are feeding one into the next. You ever see that? There's like a meme, I think, that sometimes it goes online that says, seems like a really long week. It's just like one day after another day after another day, right? But sometimes life feels like that, right? It's just like, ugh, another day, right? We get comfortable with the certain flow of our life. I love that Blur's Day, right? It's just like, everything kind of seems the same. For a person to be Moser Nefesh, it means to say that I'm willing to break my nature. I'm willing to push myself. I'm always willing to do something that's hard, to step out of my comfort zone. And that word of breaking my nature, how is that reflected in how God will deal with me in my life? Well, what do we call breaking nature? Breaking nature it means a miracle. What is a miracle? A miracle is a change of nature. So it's beautiful to think that if you want to see miracles in your life, if you want life to be out of the ordinary, you want to see the hand of God, you want to reflect that in your day-to-day life. So the more that you live and the more that you're able to say, you know what, I'm not a creature of habit, but actually every single day for me is intentional. Every day is deliberate. No, I'm living today because today is the only day that I have on this planet. And tomorrow's going to be the only day. And the next day is going to be the only day. Today's going to be absolutely fresh and original. And I'm going to make decisions today, not because I made them yesterday. And I'm going to push myself and step out of my comfort zone. Then I'm opening up the space for God to say, Mida keneged Mida. I can show you miracles because you don't live by your nature. So I'm not going to conceal myself in this thing called nature. I could live on this plane of the metaphysical. One of the things that I wrote about, and Danielle mentioned this in her introduction, that I was Zoch, I merited to release a book this past June called The 4 Elements of an Empowered Life. That's a little plug right over there. Baruch Hashem, I'm happy to say you might not find it anymore in the stores. It did. I think the hardcovers are somewhat sold out, but it is available on Amazon in paperback. That was the self-plug. Now we move on. But in the book, I wrote about something that is a beautiful idea that's rooted in Torah, but you see now very much in kind of like the pop psychology of today. Has anyone here heard of the term an abundance mindset? I think an abundance mindset was something maybe that was introduced by Stephen Covey. But the idea behind an abundance mindset, which is so relevant now, spoken about so much in modern day psychology, is the idea that as you go through life, if you go through life with an abundance mindset, that is the belief that, you know what? The world, right? Everything is here. The entire world is available for me to conquer, for me to really become the greatest possible. Nothing is holding me back. There isn't a shortage of money. There isn't a shortage of time. There isn't a shortage of energy. It's abundance, right? Hashem, right? We talk about it like Yidden, Hashem is, there's so much abundance. There's so much ashiras available, but I need to have the mindset. I need to be a kli kibel, a vessel to receive that. As I go through life, I'm living with abundance. A person like that will experience abundance. Mida keneged mida. If a person goes through their life with scarcity, oh my gosh, this guy's doing well. If he's doing competition, everyone's competition. This guy's doing well, it means I'm not going to do well. This guy opened up a store, that means my store's going to go down in business. There's not enough money, the economy's crashing, COVID's going to kill us all. Then you know what? A person will experience scarcity in their life. The world will respond the way that we adapt our mindset, abundance mindset. Someone once pointed out to me that the word Emunah, which we translate as faith, comes from the root of the word omein. Omein, right, like if you have a worker, an artisan, a craftsman is an omein, because they can take something that does not exist, and then they create a beautiful vessel, a beautiful cup, a beautiful whatever you think of when you think of an artisan or a craftsman. Emunah isn't just, let me believe in God. Emunah is from the term of omein, to bring something into creation. When a person goes through life with this abundance mindset, saying, you know what, Hashem has enough. Someone pointed out last week's Torah portion when Yitzchak davens to Hashem to have a child that says Vaye'etar Yitzchak, and Ye'etar is actually also a term of ashirus, abundance. I know that Hashem, you have everything. There's no shortage of anything. And you go through life living like that, not just thinking it, but living like that, doing small things in your life that shows I don't live with scarcity. Yes, I'm generous with my money. I'm generous with my time. I'm willing to take risks in my life because I know that there's an abundance, right? There's no shortage of resources. Hashem can give me anything at any time. That abundance mindset, Emunah, I'm an omen, I'm bringing that. With the term of one of the Svarim says, the term is the illusion of hamshacha, to bring in the energy into the world, mikoach el hapoel, to bring it into reality. This amazing mindset. If we believe in miracles, what you were learning very shortly before, there was a question asked, why is it specifically that menorah a person has to give the shirt off his back for? I think the packet said menorah, not shofar. And the reason is because menorah is meant to symbolize a miracle. And if you believe in that miracles could happen to you and you have that abundance mindset, then there is no shortage. Yeah, I'll take the shirt off my back because I believe in miracles, because Hashem could provide. There's no shortage of anything. Step out of that comfort zone. Show with your action that you really genuinely believe that miracles could happen. And then you become a vessel for those miracles to happen to you. And I share with you a great quote. I don't know 100% the name of who this quote is from. It's an author by the name of William Whitestone, Whitenberg. I don't really know, but someone like that. But the quote is so beautiful. He says, there is nothing to do, but there is always action to take. What do you think? There's nothing to do, but there's always action to take. What does that mean? Because if you're living with a mindset, I got to do something, right? Everything's crashing down. No, calm down. There's a Boreolim, there's a God. There's nothing to do, but there's action to take. Go ahead and take that next step. Do something. Do something not because you think you have to do it, not because you're forgetting that Hashem's in control. There's nothing to do. Now go ahead and take action. Now that you believe in Hashem, go ahead and do something big, do something hard, and then miracles will happen. I interviewed somebody recently on the podcast who she was speaking in a language that I felt would be not relatable to many of the people that listen, because she was speaking about many fascinating experiences where she really saw Yad Hashem in her life, the hand of God in her life, to a point that was probably beyond what most people could swallow. And I asked her, I said, do you think, because I've interviewed people like this before, and I said, do you think that just there are certain people in this world that just Hashem seems to reveal, this Lamala min Ateva? Someone's asking, what's the name of the podcast? I see it on the bottom. Baruch Hashem. It's called the Empowered Jewish Living Podcast. So I said, do you think that certain people just, Hashem, appears to them or gives them a little bit more nisim in their life? Because you see, these stories don't happen to anyone. So why do you think Hashem suddenly would do all this for you when most people are just, going to work every day? And she said something that was so beautiful. She said, the reason that these things happen to me is because I'm always living ready for them to happen. I'm always looking, expecting that it's about to happen, The same person who will listen to someone say, you have to hear this amazing hashgacha process to happen, then they'll be like, are you really telling the truth? If that's the case, then that same mindset, in a sense, there's a little bit of scarcity there. There's a little bit of maybe I don't really believe that Hashem. Well, then you're not a kli, then you're not a vessel. You need to be crazy enough. You know what they say, with the Hasidic stories. You believe all of them, right? You're a fool. You don't believe any of them. You're a heretic, right? You got to be a little bit crazy enough to say, you know what? Maybe Hashem actually will intervene in my life. Somebody else told me once, they said, why do they have such amazing days? Because every single day they wake up and they ask themselves this question. They say, what is the best thing that could happen to me today? And they visualize that. What is the best thing that could happen? You need to be ready. You need to be open. Hashem, let's do this. Right here I am. I'm waiting, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to take action, and you're going to see. I'm going to push it a little bit to really show. I'm going to squeeze a little bit because I'm going to show that I'm becoming this vessel for you to bring these miracles in my life. I want to end, if you can give me, I know it's a little bit late, but if you can give me just 2 more minutes over here, because we asked the question earlier on, what is the connection between Chanukah and the moon? We said that Chanukah comes at the darkest, Chanukah comes at the only Yom Tov that comes at the end of the month where there's no moon, it's pitch black outside. But we know that the beauty of the moon, what is the beauty of the moon? That when it disappears, when it looks like there's nothing left, when it looks like there's no hope, it's only darkness, suddenly we know, oh, this is just the beginning. Tomorrow the moon is going to start growing and it's going to start becoming brighter again. A beautiful thing. So Chanukah, which comes at the darkest time of the year, but not only that, at the darkest time of the month. What do we do during that time? We light the menorah. That's a symbol of miracle, a symbol of our abundance mindset to say that, yes, absolutely, I believe just like the moon. I believe that even though things might be difficult right here at this moment, things are just going to get better. I'm ready. I'm like the menorah. I'm a vessel for it. We said that the Greeks specifically, what did they care so much about Rosh Chodesh? What did they care so much about the moon? Because they knew that the Jewish people looked to the moon for inspiration. The Greeks just wanted to black out the Jewish people. But yet the Jewish people said, we learn from the moon. We know that as dark as things are, we know that things are about to get lighter. All we need to do is take action like the Maccabees. We just need to take that one step forward. We asked the question, why is it that Moshe Rabbeinu, why couldn't Moshe understand? He understood everything else, but yet he couldn't picture the moon and he couldn't picture the menorah. What is the answer to that? The answer is that there's a difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and every single one of us. Moshe was on such a high level. It says that Chazal say that Moshe was compared to the Chama, to the sun. Because Moshe didn't struggle like we did. To understand the moon, to understand the menorah, you need to understand the message of the struggler. You need to understand the message that you can be in the middle of the darkest time and you could say, no, I'm in control over here. All I need to do is push myself, be moser nefesh a little bit, push myself out of my comfort zone. And I know that I will trigger this abundance, this shefa that comes from Hashem. The ability to look at the darkest time, and the darkest time could be anything. It could be a dark time in my marriage. It could be a dark time in my job. It could be a dark time in my own personal growth. I'm going through such a difficult time in my own ruchnius. I'm perhaps behaving in ways that are not comfortable enough, that I don't think live up to my potential. And I could look at the blackness of the sky, like the new moon, like is on Moshe Pearl's screen, and I could say, Mekudesh, Mekudesh, Mekudesh. This is holy. Not the full moon, but this black sky. This is holy. Why? Because tomorrow it's going to get a little bit brighter. And the next day it's going to get a little bit brighter. And I'm going to light another candle tomorrow, and 2, and then 3, and then 4. Chanukah is a time that we change the trajectory of our life by saying Mekudesh, by realizing the holiness in the struggle, and realizing that when we are moser nefesh, when we push ourselves a little bit and we become vessels for the divine hand, that's the beginning of our life taking a turn for the better. So for us, every single day, we should merit to be able to say Mekudesh, it's holy, whatever I'm going through, whatever challenges I'm going through, every single day should be holy. The lesson of the menorah is, as we take one step forward, as we light another candle every single day, we're also becoming a vessel for Hashem's shefa, Hashem's energy and Hashem's abundance and Hashem's miracles in our life. So wishing everyone a very, very happy Chanukah. We're only less than 2 weeks away. Everyone should have a happy Chanukah, and we should all be zochet to light up our lives every single day with the beautiful light of the menorah and the beautiful light of our neshama.